Okay, guys, good morning. My name is Sal Cosentino. As you guys already know, I'm a CEO. CEO stands for Chief Executive Officer, Cloud Architect, Trainer. Today's date is January 14th, 2026. I want to talk about something that I've seen a lot in my experience of learning, not just learning, but seeing it from other people's side of view and other people's window mirror. Um, the double-sided mirror, I call it. Silent posting, it's an objection, right? And it's very real in sales teams, and it's usually misunderstood, right? Um, Silent posting, very real, misunderstood. When silent posting, what silent posting really is basically posting objections sounds. They're just objection sounds, like no one is liking my posts. It feels like nobody is seeing this. Posting doesn't work. I'm not getting comments. Why? What that actually means is it's not there's fear of judgment. It's not that there's misunderstanding of how buyers behave. It's not the impatience with the long term of building trust. It's what most buyers are watchers, not engagers, right? So understand that my quote to you guys is most buyers are watchers, not engagers, right? And instill that in your head. You wanna be able to, as sales warriors, you wanna be able to normalize with silence, right? And this is my first start, normalize with silence. What do I mean, Sal? Most decision makers don't like comment or share. It's very executive of them. They observe quietly and they reach out when the timing is right. You want to remove emotional resistance, right? Remember, most decision makers don't like comment or share. They observe quietly and reach out when the timing is right. You want to clarify the purpose of posting. Huddle with your team internally or ask this to yourself and say, hey, am I posting for attention or for positioning? Posting is not about likes. Posting is not about remembered, when being remembered, especially when that needs to appear. Let me see if I can, let's do that. Here you go. All right, let's make this. on the go for you guys here. Continue with my different slides, right? So remember, I'm not, am I posting for attention or for position? Remember, posting is not about likes. Posting is about being remembered when the need appears. Use the why. Okay, what do you mean, Sal? Why are you posting in the first place? Right? What are you looking for? Like, are you looking for recall? Are you looking for familiarity? Are you looking for trust? And especially, are you looking for authority? The wrong answer is rookies. They're looking for validation, right? And as sales professionals, we look for that trust, where you're familiar, you're authoritative, you're on a recall of that point, right? So why are you posting in the first place? And I'm going to use this, right? So you don't want to look for the following, especially with the whys. You don't want to look for, validation, likes, comments, immediate leads, approval, ego reinforcement. I've seen this a lot, and attention, right? And remember, the sales truth of why this matters is if the goal is validation, right? Remember, pause. Silence feels like rejection, right? So if the goal is positioning, silence means you're observing, right? Most buyers watch quietly, decide privately, or just reach out later. No one's engaging with my posts. Well, good. That means that you're not selling for attention. You're building authority, right? As a sales leader. Good. That means you're not selling for attention. You're building authority for the timing, for when that timing is right, right? Oh, but nobody's seeing my posts. No, 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 no. Right? You have to understand posting is not for applause, right? Again, I mentioned those five words I mentioned. It's for recall, right? Especially when the problem becomes urgent. Um, See if I can give you one more else. The whys. So we can say, for example, the professional, well, let's say the rep, right? Says, hey, no one's engaging with my post. Again, that's normal, and that uses an authority reframe, we call it. Um, the people who need this content are watching quietly and not really announcing themselves. We also have the buyer reality. Decision makers don't comment. They observe, remember, and reach out when the timing hits, right? You can also look for leadership checks, right? Everybody, I'm a leader. This resets my intent instantly, right? Are you posting to be seen or to be remembered when the problem becomes urgent, right? So think about it that way, right? If you're selling something trivial, and that's just the sales reality, people would react, right? Serious buyers stay quiet. Um, you know, it feels like I'm talking to no one, and that's an objection I see a lot. And if I'm coaching you, you're still talking to future buyers who haven't raised their hand yet. Simple, right? I'm not sure this is working, sir. Well, it's the moment someone recognizes your name, right, before you introduce yourself. Nobody cares. Well, they're watching quietly until timing makes it relevant, right? So tactical language, um, tactical language, right? I also want to leave you with a quick rule. Lock this in. Write this down. Grab a pen and paper. Public silence does not mean private indifference. It means that there's a consideration without the actual exposure, right? So understand that concept there. Um, we talked about in our last class, we talked about reframe guidance. It sounds like your current solution works for me now, but it also sounds like you're open to improvements if making things simpler, if it makes things simpler or just more efficient, right? And that's step four or four. So we're looking for reframe and guide, right? And again, it sounds like your current solution works for me now. That's a perfect way to say it. Um, but it also sounds like you're open to improvements if it makes things simpler and more efficient. That's just a professional way to say it, right? If we talk about objection, um, let's see what I can say for that. Um, I'm a prospect would usually say, "Hey, I'm good with what I have." What this really means is no pain yet. Like, the fear of change is greater than their desire for improvement, or they don't see a reason to move. It's not really an objection, right? And this is what I want to talk about. This is not rejection. This is comfort. Common mistakes that I see sales reps do. Okay, no problem. Let me know if anything changes. There's no leadership, there's no value created, and the conversation just ends. As a professional, what we would say, it sounds like your current solution works now. Simple. Right? Pause. But it also sounds like you're open to improvements. Now, if that makes things simpler or more efficient, let's do it. You remember, you want to stay on the call, right? Because to make money, you need attempt at least one or more on the first conversation with a prospect, right? Until then, it's in the follow up. So stay on the call, right? Following up, honestly, guys, following up is just basically when you tell yourself you're just programming yourself to quit on your first sales call, right? So I'm not interested. I don't have money to do it. Blah blah blah. No, don't do that, right? Like that's just the no money objection, right? So honestly, I'm good with what I have, and I see these prospects coming. Oh, I'm good with what I have. Okay, got it. Let's stay right here for a minute, so I understand that better, right? Get them back into the conversation. Don't lose them. Don't let go of their hands. And I see that a lot, and it pisses me off. Do you feel what this is the good thing. Like, do you feel what you have meets all your needs, or do you feel there are parts that could be easier or more efficient, right? And a prospect would say, "Hey, it works. It's not perfect, but it works." Well, yeah, that makes sense, right? It sounds like your solution works for now, but it also sounds you'd be open to improvements if they reduce effort or save time. Pause, stay on their frequency, right? Most people are tour guides of their product or service, right? Inside their business and making a minimum wage. They show people the product expecting to buy, right? 50% of sales reps are order takers. I'm telling you right now. Until you deal with a no at least two, three, four times in your life on a sales call, you're still in customer service mode. Who's paid customer service or tour guide money? I don't give a shit. So wake up. Why do you feel it's good enough right now? And this is going back to the why. Like, why do you feel it's good enough right now instead of something you'd want to improve, right? And I see prospects. It's familiar and switching feels like work. Okay, that's fair. Most people don't change because something is broken. They change when something becomes easier and more efficient. There's two clear paths, right? No pressure, especially in this specific ask, right? So, would you like, especially when you're trying to close with direction here, would you like to look at a simple option that improves what you already have? Or would you rather see the full solution that removes the friction entirely, right? Be professional, right? Learn how to deal with objection, or at least the same objection, or at least two or three times to get paid tour guide or bus driver money in sales. Because beginners, obviously, they'll attempt zero or one time, or they're just winging it or relying on other people's information. Professionals, we do it twice or three times on just one conversation. Stay on that one conversation. People don't change because things are bad. They change because something becomes clearly better, right? And number five, let's see if I can come up with number five. Okay. And we talked about this yesterday. Actually, there should be six, but let's do the last one for now, the fifth one, the fifth and sixth. So I'll give you an extra one. It's a bonus one that I call it the paradox close that we talked about yesterday. And given that the specific ask or option guide. Given that, would you like me to show you a simple option that could save you time and effort, or the full solution that solves it completely? Again, ask multiple questions, which feels like a fit to explore today. You not only asked them to show you a simple option, right? The three options, simple, better, best, but you save your time, your effort, right? Which is the better, or the full solution, which is solves it completely, right? And if you go back to the three, the best, the better, the simple, the best, and the better, you're giving them those three options, right? Which feels like a fit to explore today. If now isn't the right time, that's okay, right? But would you like to revisit this next week, or close the conversation for now, right? You're closing the conversation. You're giving the option the buyer to exit, right? You're selling the exit. Um, so back to how to post so silence works for you. Post as if one buyer is reading, right? So um, right? Post once, right? Use language, add add least amount of pressure. And yeah, that's enough for now. So post one. So post as if one buyer is reading, right? Not an audience, not an algorithm. So, you're not looking for the audience, you're not looking for the algorithm, right? Um, you know, language, the use of language, especially buyers recognize themselves in if you're dealing with most teams struggle with, here's what usually breaks, you know, if this sounds familiar, especially with the pressure, the least amount of pressure, if it sounds familiar, feel free to reach out. You know, you calm confidence, right? Um, so don't yell, right? Let's see if I can give you some examples. Let's see if I can think of one right now off the top of my head. If you want a clear objection with concrete examples, especially when you're tying it directly to silent posting issues, right, and the tactical fix you highlight. So the tactical fix is when no one's objecting with your posts. I'm posting consistently, but no one is liking or commenting. It feels like it's not working, right? What that really means is they're posting for feedback, not positioning, right? And we said this already, and they think engagement, right? And that engagement equals being effective, right? And I'll get to the role playing part in a second. They don't understand how buyers actually behave online, right? And that right there is the mindset. It's not a marketing problem. It's the mindset objection. So yeah, call a rep. This is between coach and rep, or we can do coach rep, we could do manager court, we could do you know uh, sales warrior to prospect, right? So I posted 3 times this week. This is fun, right? I posted 3 times this week and got nothing, no likes, no comments. Let me ask you something, and I'm the coach here, right? Are you posting for attention or for recall? Pause. What's the rep gonna say? Well, I guess recall. Okay, good. Because most buyers don't comment. They recognize themselves quietly and reach out later, right? If you post as if, once, where if one buyer's reading, you got the wrong mindset, especially when he says, I need to impress everybody. No, 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 no. I'm speaking to one buyer with this problem. If you're dealing with a sales process, especially in an opening, right? If you're dealing with a sales process, that looks fine on paper, but stalls in reality. You can use language. Number two here, we can use the language, right? Buyers recognize themselves in it. Instead of generic advice. Like I said earlier on in this video, use mirror language, right? Most teams struggle. They're going to struggle with deals that go quiet for after a good first call, especially here's what usually breaks right after the deal stalls, right? If you ever thought this would be moving faster, this for you, these lines just let the buyer say internally, that's me, right? You're not adding pressure, right, in your close, right? How do you explain it? So there's professional close. If showcasing expertise, right, low pressure. If showcasing expertise without chasing engagement is something you're working on, right, prospect to coach or coach to prospect, feel free to reach out. If this sounds familiar, you'll know why, right? Not DM me now, please. DM me now. DM me now. Like people say that. Like, why do people say DM me now? If this sounds familiar, you'll know why. Remember, sales warriors. Posting is not for the applause, right? Don't get the recognition. Remember, my good quote is from a good friend of mine. You know, if you get caught in the smacks, um, what was it again? If you get caught in the smacks, he- somebody said that. I can't remember who it was, but somebody said that to me, and it stuck to me. Uh, uh, Give me 1 second. I'll tell you guys in a second. It's a good quote that I had, and I took I for one think it's a great quote. Um, you know, if you get stuck in the claps, you'll always get caught in the smacks, right? And that right there is it's amazing quote, right? So, if recognition again, posting is not for the applause, right? So if it's for recognition when the problem becomes urgent, right? So um, recognize that least amount of pressure. You don't argue with the objection. You don't attack the status quo. You guide them for comfort. You show them curiosity. You lead them into choice. You end with a specific ask. And I'm going to leave this with you and not a vague question. Thanks, guys.